A very warm welcome to Ebru Guvenir, Head of IR of Akbank. Thank you very much for joining us for this interview. And let me start first of all by saying congratulations on the fantastic achievement in the Emerging EMEA Executive Team Survey 2020, where you overall achieved a top 10 result, but also for the TUIT awards across the board, you had very successful top 3 positions across the different categories. Ebru, share with us your views on what those awards mean to you, to your management, and really for your IR function.
Thank you very much, Amani. It's a pleasure to be here with you today on behalf of my team. As you know, other than myself, our team consists of 3 IR and 2 sustainability professionals, as well as our corporate access team member. The fact that we have been ranked #1 in all of the categories across the large cap companies in Turkey shows above all that the team effort is of utmost importance. So I'd like to thank once again my team for always striving to reach excellence and our senior management for their persistent backing. IR surveys have been analogous with identifying emerging trends and best practices in capital markets and their broader impact for investors. So we are delighted and honored to receive this vote of confidence and to take to heart the fact that these rankings are determined by votes from the investor community. We are obviously thrilled to see that the feedback we get from investors in our one-to-one communications are reflected by the general investor community as well. And aside from this, I can't overstate the positive impact these results have had on team morale. It also gives us a chance to reflect on how we have added value to our company and to our stakeholders, especially given that there has been significant change in how we communicate with the flood of virtual meetings and really lack of personal touch. It is encouraging to see that we have remained transparent and also relevant.
Yes, fantastic. Well, Ebru, you mentioned just a very important point here. During the pandemic, obviously, IR had to respond very differently now to investor engagement. Share with us a little bit your experience. What are the steps that you have taken to really pivot and meet the demands of the investor community?
Well, Many, very, very correctly, the pandemic, as we all know, has changed the way businesses work in profound ways, and IR's function is no exception. However, during my past experience as equity sales, having covered in many different investors with different investment styles, one of the things that actually stood out the most is the importance of senior management access. This for sure hasn't changed. And by this, I just don't mean like CEO and CFO, but providing access to business owners, the experts who run their departments day in and day out. So for example, when we have a senior management roadshow or investor reverse roadshows, before each meeting, we specifically try to understand what the investor or the analyst is most interested in, what they would most highly value, and make sure that we address those areas during our meetings. This way, we use our time most efficiently. When an investor becomes a shareholder, they become also partners of our businesses. And I truly believe that access to relevant senior management helps to better comprehend the earnings power as well as the challenges. And this definitely supports transparency, credibility, as well as you becoming a trusted partner. We have, however, been very proactive in adapting to the changes as well, and to ensure the absence of the face-to-face personal engagement is compensated with the use of the technology. And throughout the process of adapting technology as a primary mode of communication, we never lost of the fact, of the main driving force behind our effort is establishing trust and being a transparent partner to the investors. In many ways, we have been able to deliver our messages in a more efficient way, given the inherent flexibility of web-based communications. So we rose to the challenge of no face-to-face personal meetings and continue to convey our messages in the best and most transparent way possible. For example, over the last year, on top of all the virtual conferences, NDRs, live earnings calls, investor day panels, we arranged a panel on the future of banking at Akbank. And we held 2 virtual discussions, one being Akbank's ESG digital initiatives, and the other on diversity and inclusion. In all 3 virtual events, different business heads were present, talking about their vision, how Akbank differentiates itself in these areas, and also adds value. We tried to use digital communications more effectively, like sending newsletters and updating our webpage in consistent manner, and to make it easier actually for investors to be able to keep up with the important developments.
Yeah, very good. And I guess ESG is also something that has grown in momentum during the pandemic. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit about your ESG journey, where you're at, what kind of investor engagement do you actually operate, and also how do you find alignment on ESG metrics?
Amani, ESG is rapidly becoming a cornerstone for our investors. And I can easily say that over the last year, we have been definitely getting more questions on sustainability issues. We are also engaged with analysts for whom ESG is becoming a key input for their valuations. And in line with these trends, we are providing more informative, both qualitative and quantitative information on our ESG performances. We have started to include ESG developments in our earnings calls. And in our last Investor Day, for example, one of the panels was specifically on Akbank's ESG strategy and vision. And while there has been growing interest on sustainability issues from investor community, Akbank has always been mindful of how it creates value for stakeholders and ultimately benefits the environment and general social welfare. From long-term corporate social responsibility programs to pioneering reporting standards such as GRI and CDP in Turkey, we have been working on a broad range of sustainability issues in line with our vision to be the leading bank that drives Turkey into the future. We are proud to be the first Turkish bank to be a signatory of the United Nations Global Compact back in 2007. We were also the first Turkish company to be featured in CDP Global 2010 Global 500 report. And of course, as the structure of Turkish economy evolves, the needs of the community, the environment, and other stakeholders change as well. And we have positioned both our business strategy and our sustainability plan to address these evolving trends. Our approach to ESG is holistic. We want to make sustainability an integral part of the way we do business and the way we interact with the environment and different groups of the stakeholders like customers, investors, suppliers, employees, and that requires a bank-wide transformation effort. As you may remember, we announced our ESG strategy targets at the beginning of the year, and there are 4 key areas: sustainable finance, climate change, ecosystem management, people and community. 2 key strengths will serve as foundation in our activities: integrated governance and financial performance. And in order to better keep track of these intensifying efforts of the bank, we have set targets in these key areas. We are the first deposit bank in Turkey to announce solid sustainability targets across both sides of the balance sheet, with undertakings such as providing 200 billion loans for sustainable loan financing until 2030, sustainable investment funds to reach 15 billion Turkish lira AUM by 2030, becoming a carbon neutral bank by 2025. We have been closely following the progress of these intensifying efforts with bank-wide KPIs, including those of our CEOs. And in order to achieve these set targets, we have been working on numerous bank-wide long-term projects. It is a journey. And during our first quarter earnings call, we shared some of the many actions that we're taking during the quarter on the road to our long-term targets. I would like to just name a few here. We included, for example, new coal thermal power plant projects, as well as coal mining, coal transportation, and power plant operating with coal for SMEs in our exclusion lists. We launched our sustainable finance framework, which is an important step in our efforts to make sustainable financing more accessible to companies that contribute to a greener and more prosperous economy. The framework sets clear and comprehensive rules defining which financing products can be classified as sustainable by outlining social and green eligibility criteria. It is in line with international standards and was externally reviewed by Sustainalytics, which also gave a second-party opinion. As a result of our efforts to create a more diverse and also inclusive workplace, we have entered Bloomberg Gender Equality Index this year, scoring higher than global and sectoral averages. We became the top-ranked rated EM bank in Official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum Gender Balance Index, and also became the first Turkish company to join Valuable 500, a global initiative that aims to revolutionize disability inclusion. We will continue decisively on our path. It's a long-term journey, and our vision is to be the leading bank that drives Turkey into the future. And we will continue to transparently share developments in this area also going forward.
Yeah, that's really fantastic and great outline there in terms of already the achievements on this longer journey of ESG integration. I would like to just pause and focus a little bit more on the governance element, if that's okay. Share with us a little bit about your approach and what are the things that you are doing, specifically also when it comes to attracting international investors.
This is actually a very, very important point. Sound governance is key to establishing a structure for long-term sustainable decision-making. Our governance practices are fully aligned with our strategic initiatives in our roadmap. Just to share an example of our governance structure, which encourages long-term sustainable decision-making, 3 years ago, we adopted a governance model where the Information Risk Management Department reports directly to the board. Our bank is among a handful of companies to implement such a model worldwide, and the first financial institution in Turkey with such governance structure. And by the way, the model has also been recently included in the new banking regulation. Our shareholder structure supports and encourages this long-term approach as well. I should also mention that governance of sustainability at Akbank is a multi-stakeholder approach. We have conducted materiality analysis involving a broad set of stakeholders, including our customers, investors, employees, executive management, and so forth, to determine the key issues to focus on going forward. And in order to assess long-term impact of our policies and actions on our stakeholders, we came up with a governance structure that involved interaction with both internal as well as external stakeholders. Also, our sustainability committee includes board members, CEO, CFO, as well as myself, and the committee meets at least twice a year. And the board recognizes and has taken ownership of the sustainability as an integral part of the way we do business.
Yeah, very good. You mentioned earlier, Ebru, of course, the quick adoption of technological platforms, specifically looking at the online engagement with your investor community. Digitization has been obviously a topic that preceded the pandemic. Share with us a little bit your experience at Akbank from an IR standpoint. What are the tools? What are the kind of processes that you are incorporating into your IR workflow that makes your work a lot more efficient?
Now, Amani, this is definitely very important, especially taking into consideration that currently, we are not able to travel. With the impact of the pandemic, obviously, digitalization has been tremendously fast forwarded across all businesses. Before the pandemic, it was very difficult to convince any investor for video conferences. And now it's become like the new normal, basically. Though I do believe, or more so hope, let's say, that the new normal will be somewhere, in between. This is my hope right now. But definitely, digitization removes geographic boundaries, making it easier for investor reach and also targeting. It helps us to listen, hear, and understand a broader range of investors, and which is instrumental for us to articulate our bank strategy in the most relevant way. And this is also crucial for internal feedback to senior management. Although nothing can replace the impact of one-to-one personal touch and the body language, during the meetings, we do have the benefit of becoming more accessible, and so is information. And if used wisely, it can help facilitate a more comprehensive investor communication as well as, also interaction. I believe digitalization has also made IR teams more important in the sense that there is so much information and so much data out there coming from all sorts of areas, different channels. So we have to make sure that we stay in front of the investors at all times to help them make sense of the data or information into actionable decisions. And also, we have now more tools, as you were mentioning, regarding the data to assess ourselves as both as a company and as an IR team. And we use this information to improve and to come up with better ways to create value for our stakeholders. And as I mentioned earlier, with our efforts in digitalization and technology, we were able to introduce a greater number of our senior executives to a wider range of investors. One of the events that I haven't touched upon in detail is our annual Analyst and Investor Day, which we hold every year at our headquarters in January. Every year, all our executive management would attend, giving the chance for investor community to have one-on-one interaction, in person. This year, we tried to replicate this unique experience, inclusive of human touch as much as possible. First, we sent a survey to everyone, asking what topics they'd like to hear from us. To incentivize the participation of the survey, each response was reciprocated by planting 5 trees on each participant's behalf. So this feeds into our sustainability, obviously, vision. Topics such as ESG and digitalization were most voted for. And as a result, we prepared 3 separate panels with participation of different top management executives, offering the chance for the participants to interact with our senior management. 7 different members of our executive team, including our CEO, participated in these panels and talked about in depth about how Akbank plans to bring superior banking experience to its customers, while obviously keeping fundamentals strong. I think that through these kinds of panels and online presentations, investors are able to get a better sense of the company's culture and how strongly the company strategy is owned and adapted by different members of the senior management, not to mention how prepared the company is for Black Swan type events.
Yeah, very good. Ebru, you've obviously been now head of IR of Akbank for a few years now. Before you were on the sell side as well. So you have almost like a 360 view on engagement and interaction with the capital markets players. I wanted to ask you, what are your top tips now for an IRO, for someone who's joining the function, but also in terms of your top tips in terms of tools or functions or structures that you have put in place, to achieve such a successful and highly recognized IR program?
Thank you, first of all, for all the nice comments. I hope I can give advice that will meet up to your expectations, Amani. It goes without saying that you must be a trusted partner, not just with the investment community, but also internally with the executive team. We are the gatekeepers of information flow and must make sure that two-way feedback communication is open at all times. Investors, analysts, as well as senior management rely on your expertise to understand competitive dynamics, the investors' needs, and how your strategy and messages are being perceived. So you must have an excellent command of fundamentals. You must articulate in explaining both the financial and non-financial performances, as well as the outlook or strategy. And for this, of course, not just communication, but listening skills are invaluable. Last but not least, be adaptable and also nimble. You have to be in command of the key trends. For example, we've already talked about one of these key trends, sustainability. Issues like climate change, emission targets are very technical, and you have to be in command of these issues because of their growing importance in investment decisions. Digitization and technology are other important trends. It is essential that you have a good command of how these provide value to the company and to the shareholders as well. Maybe one last advice would be to be proactive in reaching out to investors, not only in good, but more so in the bad times. You have to be consistent and persistent and to remain passionate about what you do.
Very good, and I can see the passion on your face as well, Ebru. So we're gonna switch gear now, and I hope you play along. We have a quick question round. Okay. So the first one is: name a historical figure that you would like to meet, and what would you ask them?
It's difficult to choose. So many great historical people who have done, great accomplishments in their areas, such as, Mozart, Da Vinci, Einstein. But I guess, in these days, it would probably be Gandhi. Not just a question, but in depth conversation about his mindset in dealing with adversity in, difficult times.
Very, very good. And who's your favorite band, singer, or perhaps musician?
There are many, many, obviously, that, I really like to listen to. But U2 comes to my mind. I still remember their Wembley Stadium concert as a part of their 360 tour. It was absolutely mesmerizing.
Hopefully, we'll be able to do that soon again.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And which quote from a movie, Ebru, do you use in regular life?
Well, actually, rather than a regular life, let's say it's been a challenging year. And like the reason I chose, obviously, I would say Gandhi came up to my mind. When faced with difficulty, I remember this line in League of Their Own, where Tom Hanks' character says to Gina Davis, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. And in challenging times like these, I think, you try harder and dig deeper. And as a result, you discover gifts that you never thought you had. Obviously, everyone, faces adversity, and it's how you overcome them that makes the difference. So I always try to stay positive and, and as I said, follow your passion.
Yeah, fantastic. Which book did you read last?
I read a book actually on sustainability, and it was just last month. It's written by 2 Turkish authors. It's a great book. It's in Turkish, unfortunately. It's written by Professor Levent Kurnaz and lecturer and impact investor Gülin Yücel.
Excellent. And name a personal objective or resolution that you have for this year.
My resolution, not for this year, but I think it would be basically, you know, as a lifetime resolution, is to be the best version of yourself.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Ebru Güvenir, Head of IR of Akbank, thank you very much for your time and for all the great insights you shared here. And again, congratulations on a fantastic achievement. We're just actually completing with the 2021 survey. So fingers crossed for you for this year, and all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amani, for giving me this opportunity. I hope that we get to meet in person soon as well. Take care.
I hope so too. Take good care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.